So, okay. All right, we are ready, Jason.
All right, let me readjust my screen a little bit here. So I've got my questions in front of me.
Before, are we starting? Can I ask one question?
Of course.
Do I need to, what about time? How are you looking on time for this video? Just so Jason knows I get carried away.
We
Are you looking
probably
for a
want
30 minute, 30 minute or 40 or 20 or?
I'd say in between 15 to 25 minutes. I think if we start getting into the half hour mark, people will start dropping pretty quickly. Jason, what do you think?
Yeah, but if we're talking, I think we are going to need to do a little bit of editing here and there. And
Okay.
so I think time-wise, if we go for about 30 minutes and then we chop it down, it's going to end up being in that 20 to 25-minute range.
Okay.
And we can put the timestamps in the video, so if people are zoning out and they don't care about that question, they can skip to the next question or something like that.
Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right, that's a good answer. I just wanted to make sure I, have an idea how long to talk about each question.
Yep. All right.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today on our interview. Once again, this is Jason Lee. You know me as LDS Reliance. We have John Mann from the State of Shard YouTube channel as well with us. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing well, Jason. Thanks for having me on again today.
Awesome. And today, our special guest is Lester Miller from Miller Tech Energy Solutions. How are you doing, Lester?
Hey, thanks for having me on, Jason. I'm great.
Good, good. Well, we sent you some questions to be prepared for, but we might throw you a few little curveballs here and there. But why don't you start off by just tell us a little bit about your background. How long has Miller Tech been around? How did it get started? How did this all come about for you?
Okay, sure. That's a question I quite often get. With our Amish backgrounds, a lot of people are always curious how we got into lithium, so that's a good question to start it with. So I had this job doing in the logging industry, and us being Amish, we were using teams of horses to get these trees out of the woods, and we had made a custom cart that pulled behind the horses that used a big ATV winch that used like 400 amps to drag these trees up against our little piece of equipment. And we were going through lead acid batteries, the old interstates. We were going through them like crazy, 8 to 10 a year. And we were doing that for quite a long time. We got tired of it. And one day we didn't have internet or anything. So I told my driver that took us to our job site and back. I told him, hey, can you just, go on your phone and see what you can find. Just put in there the best batteries on earth. Let's see what comes up. And this was in, I'd say 2014, not exact there, but somewhere in there. He did that. Lithium comes up. It was a pretty new thing. At that time in the U.S., it was pretty much smart battery, I think, was only 12-volt drop-in replacement that was available. I went ahead. I didn't know anything about batteries. We went ahead. We ordered 2 of them. They were like $1,250 each for 100 amp hour.
Wow.
We got them, put them on there, and of course this winch draws 400 amps max, and we were hitting that, every time we used it. And these 100 amp hour batteries were just, you flip the switch and they just go dink, and that was it. Well, that's what really got me going. Why does it do this? We called the company. Long story short, we figured out that our loads are too big, and that's when I really got into what is a load, what's an amp. I was curious. I never knew anything about amps, watts. I didn't have any idea. So that's how really got us into it.
Lester, just a question here. So in 2014, you're doing this, and you had never done anything really electrical up until that point.
No, not at all.
Wow.
I had zero experience.
Okay.
So we from that point, that's when I started digging as far as electricity and how everything works. And we started looking. So I was determined to get a battery that works. Smart Battery said there's nothing available that has a 400 amp unless we get a huge battery. We didn't have room for a huge battery. So that got me thinking, and I ended up, what I did after that, I kind of gave up finding a battery for that application right then. I just thought it wasn't possible. We ended up buying some cells, lithium cells from a company in Arizona. I forget their name now. The blue ones, I think they're still available. 3.2 volt, like 40 amp hour. And we got those. I put them in a plastic case that I got somebody to custom make for me. And I got some cheap BMSs online, and we put everything together. And that was dumb. I mean, I was inexperienced, and I was just playing around. Luckily, nothing ever bad happened, but that's how I just winged it, and we figured it out. And I made a couple for myself. I was just playing. I had no intentions of ever, starting a business at all. But that's how it started. Neighbors saw my battery. They wanted one. I made one, and soon I was making 30 or 40 of them just in the evening, putting them together like a side thing. And we started we started going to China for our circuit boards and our casings. And we got hold of a Chinese factory that said, hey, why don't you let us put the battery together, and the rest is history.
Wow. Now, Lester, I'm familiar with your product just because of Jason and some of the conversations that he and I have had. So outside of the batteries, what are some of the other things that you guys offer as a company, so that someone like myself who's just learning about who you are, what are some other things that I can get from you guys?
As everybody knows by now, we're Amish based. And I don't want to always go back to that, but that does, have an effect on what products we add, and what we offer. So a lot of our products are based on which would be good products for off-grid people that are, it's now becoming more popular all over. Mm-hmm. But we have a full line of lithium batteries. We have 8 what we call drop-in replacements models. And we have 2 drop-in replacement starting models that are good for starting applications. And we have 3 large-scale solar modules that are good for large-scale solar in 24 and 48 volt models. The other thing the lithium batteries were the first. The next thing I added to my product line was DC lighting. So now we have a full line of DC LED bulbs, anywhere from 5 watts to 150 watt in DC. We have high bay lights that a lot of the Amish are using in their buildings. That we have a 60 and 100 watt DC high bay, so people can, and it's 24 volt. You can run it right off your battery pack. Much more efficient than running it through your inverter. And using that. We have some inverters, 18 volt inverters. I custom designed an inverter that has 18 volt input, and now we use a DeWalt battery adapter on top of the inverter. You can snap your DeWalt battery in there, and you have portable electricity wherever you need it.
Wow.
Something that's pretty popular. And then our latest thing that kind of really took MillerTech, it's surprising. I don't think Jason knows this, but it took MillerTech it took us to a very next level, I should say. It was the LED headlamps. They just became available on Amazon now, but there's over 300,000 Amish people in the United States, and every one of those doesn't have lighting all over their property like you guys do. So anytime you go outside, anytime you go, anywhere you go, almost, you need to have a light. So these LED headlamps that clip on your head have really been a hit. We've had them for 3 years, and we've sold hundreds of thousands of those.
Wow.
So those have really been a game changer for us. But the batteries are still always going to be our bread and butter. That's the thing we focus on the most and spend a lot of time on R&D and stuff. But we do have the little fill-in stuff that helps, fill in the cracks.
So Lester, back to the batteries for a second. You obviously, things have changed since 2014 when there was kind of only one game in town. Now there's quite a few, and some of those are big companies like Battleborn. You've got some significant competition now, and you also have cheap Chinese competitors that have entered the market through Alibaba and places like that. What makes you different? What are you kind of focusing on to stand out in the market?
Well, it's a good question. And sometimes, it's a hard question too. There's a lot of things. And we could talk about this for a long time. And there's a lot of small things that sometimes don't, come out. But talking about, I always say there's good competition, and competition is great. It's the U.S. That's America. That's why we love America, because we have competition. We're able to compete. So there's two types of competition. There's competition that is out there to also offer a great product and also offer great service. And they're not just out there to take the whole market and, badmouth everybody else any chance they get. Right. So those are the people that we don't mind. Obviously, they're competitors, so we don't. I'm not going to say a lot of good things about them, but I'm not going to, purposely bash them either, because it's America. It's a free country. We can all be competitors. The ones that really, create a problem is like you said, Jason, the AliExpress, Alibaba. And I could talk a long time. When we went to China, we didn't, that's going to be one of the later questions too. It'll come up again, but we didn't start with a good supplier. You can go on Alibaba and there's 500 suppliers for lithium batteries, and they all have the best one. If you email them, they're all going to have the best one. Right. Yep. So, and that's not true. And we had a stumbling block. We didn't start with the best one. We found out the hard way. It cost us a lot of money. We switched companies, and so that's an important thing. So, people need to be aware. Just because it sounds good doesn't mean it is good.
That's your other competitor, but they're not a competitor in the sense that you really want them to be a competitor, because they're not looking out for the interest of the consumer. They're not looking out to producing the highest quality product. They're just trying to push it out there as cheap and inexpensively as possible. And those are the competitors that are probably frustrating, aren't they?
They are. That's, a thing in the business that is not fun, dealing with. So, and what happens is people call them, they call us. And even here in our Amish communities, I would say, since we're online now with Jason, we haven't got nearly as many calls from our, online customers as we do in the Amish community. There's other Amish people in our community that saw me, start this and become, successful, if you can say so. I mean, we're still growing, we're not a perfect company, but we've been doing quite well. And so people see this in our Amish community, and we have a lot of copycats, people that are going to China, importing batteries, and are undercutting us by huge margins. And we know it can't be the same product. It's just, if it is, I'm not doing something right. So, but that is definitely a challenge to work with. And I have some notes here, we warranty, we had this one Amish company start up. They were advertising in our papers 5-year warranty, just like, I always have my 5-year warranty logo in all my ads. Mm-hmm. And because here in the Amish community, we still do a lot of paper advertisements in newspapers and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I always have a huge full page, and it's always got my 5-year warranty stamp. And everybody knows MillerTech has a 5-year full replacement warranty. We pride ourselves on that. Mm-hmm. And so this, we get these competitors coming in, they do the same thing, 5 years. People start finding out, or, we did some research. They're doing a 2-year full replace and a 3-year prorate. So, that's just, it's false advertising to me. Mm-hmm. It is a 5-year warranty, but it's not the same as MillerTech. So we find all kinds of stuff like this, and it's you become numb to it at some point. I used to get all stressed out, and my wife was like, this isn't worth it. Why do you just worry about? I said, I'm worried about it because I'm afraid they're going to hurt our business. But we've always been, every quarter we grow substantially. We're always very busy. We're thinking about hiring another person here, and I've just become to the point where I say, let's look forward, do the best we can, and these guys that are, just following, and as long as we can be the leader, as long as they're following, we're still winning.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my philosophy, moving ahead, hopefully.
All right, John, your turn.
All right. Well, you've touched a little bit about this throughout the conversation, and if it's all right with you, I'd like to just expand on it a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your Amish. I'm going to start over again. We're going to have to edit this. So tell us a little bit about your Amish heritage and beliefs and how that has affected your business.
About Amish, the heritage, here again, it's another one of these subjects you could talk about for a long time. There's just so much, and it's so hard to say it in a short way that people understand it fully.
Yeah.
And even then, some people might not. The biggest thing I'd like to put out there is we're just normal people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Amish, and since the internet has evolved the way it has, Amish are often mistaken for something different, than what we really are. Sometimes I have a chance to get online and I see these comments being made on different forums and posts or whatever, like being labeled. We often get labeled like cult or we are the king of puppy mills, or there's a whole bunch of things that I see, and I'm like, there might, not all Amish are perfect, and even myself, we're not perfect, but most of them have good intentions, and then there's, that we're still humans, so there's still some here and there. There might be someone that that has, does something that's not done in the way we think or we usually want it done. Then if somebody sees that, it can blow up on the internet overnight. That. Mm-hmm. And immediately, and that's something we often struggle with, is the whole group and our whole, organization, whatever you want to call it, wants to be gets labeled as involved in the same item. And sometimes it's kind of frustrating for me. And the internet's a lot to blame because this stuff spreads and people don't get the right information. Yeah. And a lot of us aren't out there, so we're not out there defending ourselves. But as far as how it's affected our business, we started 2016. I imported the first batteries, like 50 of them. I loaned $5,000 from my dad, and I had $5,000. That's all I had. I was broke. I ordered 50 batteries, sold those, and we've been organic since then. And I think, that has a lot to do with it. Just, I think the way we were raised, a lot of us were farmers, and on a farm, you got to work every day. There's no rest. There's no vacation. It's just work. And I think that really helped, helped me, because I spent many nights out here working in the workshop and putting out orders by myself.
I think probably your work ethic has really helped you become successful too. I think of you working the land and your farms and all those things, and you've created a really strong work ethic, and that probably permeates into how you build your batteries, right? Well,
I don't want to say something that comes across as, but it has to help. I mean, if you look into, even in our own communities, we're not exempt from that. The work ethic is not what it used to be. I think it definitely, I take it as a privilege, that I was raised that way. A lot of people don't have that privilege, and that's something I'm thankful for every day. So yeah, work ethic definitely. We know that we have to work, and that helps. And then also, I see some of these companies with their warranties. I always bring it up as honesty. That was planted into us from day one. Is lying is not an option. It doesn't matter what it is or what hot water is going to get you into. Lying is going to get you even in deeper. So that comes back to warranty and service. If somebody has a problem, I always tell my workers, never try to shrug it off. Never try to tell them, we want to find out if it's our problem, something that the battery did wrong, but we want to handle their complaint and their situation in an honest way that they can depend on us to, if you have a warranty, you got to stand with it. And that's a lot of things. That's really, like I told you about the 3-year prorated deal. That's something that's getting lost. They're saying they have a 5-year warranty, but in my opinion, that's not. So I think that's helped us. The word's getting out. People know how we operate with that. And I think that also, reflects on how we were raised.
Yeah. Thank you for answering that.
Well, I want to add in from my perspective, since I'm, a distributor for Lester. I carry his batteries on my web store, and obviously there's some technology challenges there to overcome. Because he doesn't have a website, he has limited access to technology, and that was a little challenging to overcome at first. But what I've found is, I get paper invoices in the mail. I get phone calls, and not we email quite a bit, but it's given me more of a personal relationship with Lester and I guess the company, because I'm working directly with people instead of just an anonymous transaction. It's not like, I just forward something to him and he drop ships it and we never interact. It's a much more personal relationship. And, every time there's a warranty issue, and it's not very often, but, we both kind of personally take ownership of that and try to figure out how to best take care of the customer and how to honor that warranty. And I can't speak for any other companies because I don't represent any other battery manufacturers, but from reading around on other sites, and I'm not going to name any names, but there are some challenges with other companies where they don't treat the customer that way. And that's what I've always kind of been impressed with MillerTech on.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And if I could just say one more thing on that is, I have here in my notes, I have that we always say, sometimes even myself, I bought something, I go to have a question about it. Email's great. It's, it's awesome. You can just do it quickly and whatever. But how many times do you email somebody and you don't get an email for a couple hours?
Right.
And I'm not, talking about other battery companies. I'm not, saying bad things about anybody. I'm just saying email's great, but sometimes a good old phone call, if you have, and that's something we're passionate about. I told you earlier, we have hours 8 to 4, and we have 4 people at the phone every day, 8 to 4, and we don't have offered lunch. They do, but we have somebody at the phone, and I'm very passionate about that. If the phone rings, we have to pick it up fast. Nothing irritates me more. Now you're calling these companies about a technical question, and you're on hold for 40 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah.
That means, and all those 40 minutes, all you hear is, we care about your, we care about your, they care about you. And I'm like, this makes no sense. You don't care about me or you talk to me.
Right.
So we're very passionate about that. We might not have a website. We might not have all the bells and whistles like some of the bigger companies do. But if you have a technical question, call Jason, call us direct. We promise to pick up the phone and do everything in our power to help you.
That's great.
That's awesome. So let me ask you, Lester, switching gears just slightly, if you could go back in time and change one thing with your business, what would that be and why? It's
Another tough one. I was always, I'm always the type of guy, I don't like looking back. Looking back sometimes makes you, depends how you look back, you get discouraged, you can't believe you did this or that. But if you look back in the right way and you learn from your mistakes, that's better teaching, and that's, I have proof. I didn't know anything about batteries. I just learned it. And that's better. Learning from your mistakes is a lot better than reading a book or going to college, in my opinion.
Amen.
If you actually made the mistake and you learn from it, you're going to know what not to do or what to do. So, I don't like to look back a lot, but if I do, I try to learn from it. I guess I have notes here too, a bunch of them. One of the first ones I see that I'd like to tell people is, if you're going to start a business, and if you're going to be importing for sure, is make sure you have good products before you launch them. I made that mistake, and unfortunately, a lot of things are coming from China now. But I made that mistake, importing from a supplier that wasn't trustworthy and not knowing the difference. So that really took a toll on our company. But we've overcome that already 3.5 years ago, and we're well past it, and it was a good learning point. That would be one. The other thing is, I have here is not always take the first deal. When I was growing, I had some people come at me, maybe distribution deals or dealership or partnership. Right when I started, I was desperate for money. I created a partnership with I thought was, a buddy of mine, and he bought into the business for like $10,000 or something. And we grew so fast, and in 6 months, I decided, this isn't gonna. He wasn't doing a lot to help the business, and I said, hey, I need to buy you out, and it didn't end that good. So that's. It just sounded so good when he said, hey, I'll give you $10,000 and we'll be half and half. $10,000 looked huge. Now I'm like, you got to be kidding. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
So, if I had something to do over, those would be a few things. Take some time to think before making decisions, no matter how desperate you are for the money or whatever it may be. Sleep over it for or a week if it's a big decision, and make sure it's the right one. It's bitten me a couple times, so that's my takeaway from all this.
Nice lessons for all of us to learn. Thanks for sharing those.
Yeah, it's not a problem, and I want to make sure people know we're still learning. I don't know everything, and I never will. There's always more to learn.
Yep.
So we're always looking to see how we can improve.
All right, we've talked a little bit about competitors, kind of the negative side of competitors and the positive side of competitors. So I'm going to ask the question in a little different of a way here, is who are your biggest competitors, and how do you attack them in the marketplace?
That's another good one. I have on my notes not mention names. I'm not big into that. It's just one of those things that I'm just not comfortable doing, is mentioning names. And but as far as how we try to attack them, if that's how you want to call it, or how we try to win their customers, is like the way I like to word it. Sure. We try to get people convinced that we're the better choice. It's all comes down to in the lithium world right now. It seems warranty and features. Features are a big thing right now with batteries. We're actually starting R&D on a Bluetooth module. For our battery. Not something that we're going to be able to use, but as I grow in the online community, I think it'll be necessary. So yeah, just offer a product that's is good or better than your competitor. Always try to be better if you can. Offer more features, and then if you have that good product, then you also need service to back it up and a warranty. I think if you have that, that's to me, it's the key to success is starting with a good product, a good warranty, and then service to back it. And it's not like we have to be the only ones selling batteries, but I think that's, to me, those are our key points that we try to focus on.
Yeah.
So talking about, you say having the best products and attacking the market that way, what do you have in the future? What are you working on? What is MillerTech developing that we can look forward to besides the Bluetooth module, maybe that, you came out with the economy line of batteries that, at least from my perspective, has generated substantially more interest in the batteries, from my world anyway, the last year. What else do we have to look forward to in the future?
So the one thing we have that's almost ready to hit the market is, so that meter, we didn't even talk about the meters in our batteries. And I don't know if Jason knows this, but when I put that meter, when I got my first batteries from China, I said, why not put a voltmeter in the battery so people can see how full it is? I had no idea what this was going to create. It's caused us a lot of problems, headaches, but I'm telling you, I think it took our battery and made us grow so much faster, because we were the first company in the U.S. to launch a 12-volt drop-in replacement with a voltmeter. And I just saw last week or 2 weeks ago, there's another one. They're coming out of the woodwork now with meters, because it's so handy, it's so nice. So we started with this, a meter that was readily available on the market. And Jason knows we've had some issues with that meter, and we've always stood behind it. It's not like it's an issue that people have to be worried about. If you do have an issue, we will 100% replace the whole battery. But that's the next new thing we're looking at is a new meter. I couldn't find a meter on the market. They were either too, and I always try to not become too high tech, because sometimes if you do that, then you end up having a lot of problems. Yeah. So I like to keep it simple but useful, if that makes sense. So we designed our new meter. There's no meter on the market that suited our needs, so I had to work with a manufacturer, and I paid for a mold. We have our own mold and our own circuit board. Everything in this meter is customized to our specs. It's going to be a touch meter. It's going to be very basic. All you need is volts and amps, volts and a battery. It can be, people just want to know how full their battery is. So that's going to be hitting the market. We're getting our first shipment. They're on the water now. That should be exciting. And this meter is going to be 100% waterproof. Another thing that has been an issue, but we're working through those things. Like I said earlier, trying to just become better and better. That and all our BMSs coming soon. Also with those meters, we're adding new BMSs that are all they have the low temperature charging protection, which is pretty important. We in the Amish communities, most of us some of them are in Wisconsin, but here in Ohio, where I'm at, or Kentucky, it doesn't get that extremely cold. I never really worried about it. As we are expanding our base, we're seeing an uptick of requests for that. So that's also coming. And then the last thing, I haven't told Jason yet, but we're going to be launching a lithium solar focused, I should say, a battery that's 100%. We took our 4 years or 4.5 years of listening to people and listening to customers and deciding how can we build a solar battery that works for most applications and is affordable. And we've come up with a design. It's kind of secret yet, but we're very excited. And it's going to be branded. It's not going to be branded MillerTech. It'll be branded Life. Life Lithium Battery is going to be the brand. And we're going to, it'll be sold under MillerTech as a MillerTech, product, but it's going to have its own brand. And we worked on it over a year now. and we're just now testing our latest samples we got are testing very well, and we're hoping by January we'll be ready to expose those to the public.
Very cool.
Jason,
And we're actually working on ULs. Yeah, we're actually looking at a UL approval on those big ones. If you go into big solar, grid tie stuff, some of these people have 48 volt, 3,000 amp hour backup systems. It has to be UL approved. So we're actually sending our first modules to UL to get approved. There's no reason they shouldn't approve in flying colors. So we're very excited. We think we have something that might, really change the. There are some others out there, but we took all the information and just threw it together and tried to come up with a better one than what's available. So we're excited.
Awesome. All right, last question. We need to wrap this up pretty quick.
Okay.
All right. Is it your turn, John, or mine?
No, it's yours.
Okay.
Oh,
all right, Lester, thanks for answering all of our questions. We have one final question, maybe a little bit more lighthearted than the other questions, but
Okay.
and it doesn't have to necessarily be about MillerTech, but if there's one thing that you could say to the internet that you're just dying to say, something that you want to clear up or something that you wish everybody knew, what would that be?
That's a good question. I didn't, my notes, I didn't really get into that. I didn't get that far. I know in one of your last videos, Jason, you had touched on this, and I really agreed with it. It's kind of going to be my answer. I'll just reiterate it. Anything is possible, but not everything or not anything is possible without due diligence and working for it. A lot of times I hear people say, "Oh, anything is possible. If you really want it, you can do it." But there's more to that. And I think that's kind of what you were saying in your last video. But that's, something people hear my story. They're like, they can't believe it. They're like, "How did this, you just stumbled on it?" I'm like, "Yeah. I didn't, go for it and say I'm going to build a lithium battery. So anything can be done. I started this with $5,000, like I told you earlier, and we grew it. I have a line of credit. It's not big. And we've struggled through. There's cash flow issues, but you just take one day at a time, and just do the best as you know. And it's America. You can be successful. We have a lot of people that just think there's no way, they're not even going to try. And if I could just tell them it's worth it. You need to try. The first step is trying. You can't do anything without trying and believing in it. So that's kind of my take on that one.
Awesome. Well, Lester, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with us. It's been very interesting. Maybe we'll do it again sometime, some follow-up questions with you if you're willing.
Yeah.
Also,
I appreciated it.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just ready to say I appreciate you having me on, and I enjoyed it. There's so much we can talk about. If you ever want to have me on again, I'd be more than happy to talk to you guys. It was very enjoyable.
Yeah, 35 minutes goes by pretty quickly, so we only scratched the surface.
I know. Sorry if I made it too long.
Yeah, there's so many questions that, I'm over here like wanting to ask follow-up questions, but we just don't have time. So we'll get to that another time then. Thanks for joining us. I didn't say this beforehand, but I am going to put a coupon code for those who made it all the way to the end of this video. I'm going to put that on the screen for you. So be sure to check that out. Order some MillerTech batteries. And I'm also announcing or showcasing, I should say, the MillerTech 1648 fan that I'm going to be putting on my web store as well. So check that out. That's a hot seller as well. So thanks for being with us. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, Lester, this is the first time you and I have met, and albeit virtual. So it was really great to get to know you a little bit, and I really appreciate you and what you're doing. And thanks for taking the time out and chatting with us today.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I could still say, it was nice talking to you, John. I haven't talked to you before, but it was also nice talking with you. And anybody out there wants anything from MillerTech, let Jason know. Look him up on his website. And if you ever have, if you do buy something from us, we went over this before. I'm going to say it one more time. If you have any issues, don't freak out. Give us a call, and we will do everything we can to get you to be happy.
You will be taken
that's our
care
goal.
of.
Yep.
Definitely. All right. Thanks, everyone. Until next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Lester. Bye-bye.